Hello and welcome to episode 32 of our Timberborn Update 7 Iron Teeth Project 1K playthrough cycle 61, day 16, 11.8 days left in our current drought cycle. Lots to do, so let's not waste any time. Obviously, last episode we had almost completed Quadrant 3's terrain, but it's actually kind of a good thing we didn't because we've modified how we're going to be doing the reservoir. We'll get to that in a little bit. But, excuse me, we had a request, and I thought it was a fun idea to go into first-person view way down here and take a look at just how tall all of this nonsense is. I don't think I want it to fall off the edge here, but I do need to be in a position where we can see just how tall all of our terrain is from a beaver's point of view. That was requested in the comments. I'm sorry, it's not like a super interesting thing to look at from this exact corner. So maybe we can work our way over here and you get a better vantage point. Okay, this is a little bit better. Not quite the very bottom of the map, but there's a lot going on up here. And it is just tremendously busy. Can I scroll? Oh, I can. Oh, okay. That looks a little bit nicer. But I digress. Today's goal, as I put this into triple speed, is to complete all of the terrain. Obviously, it is a process that, well, I'm not even going to say it. People are going to get mad. But we're going to do that. We're going to completely clear out Quadrant 4 here. We're going to disassemble this. I can't promise it's going to be completely rebuilt, but we will, by the time this episode is done, actually have the terrain in place. But before I start time-lapsing, we need to make sure we can actually produce that much terrain. So these dirt excavators here and here are... Wow, that wasn't prioritized. That's probably part of the reason why. But these are going to be running just constantly. We have these two over here that we did turn on last episode that are also not prioritized. Okay, well that ought to help substantially. And we're going to let them, you know, do their thing for a little bit because there's still some stuff that we can take care of without adding additional terrain. Starting with a little bit of a laundry list of stuff people asked for last episode. We do have a tiny two-way station here that is not connected. Now it is. So that should, you know, maybe help things just a tiny bit as we continue going down to these other levels. We did talk a little bit in the comments, or I talked with a few of you at least, about actual distribution of all of these farm crops. And that's something that is going to be sorted once all of the terrain is in place. We're going to completely wipe everything farming related and just get a fresh, complete start and make sure everything is actually set up correctly. A whole bunch of you have done math, and the number we're going to use for plantable tiles per quadrant, per layer, is going to be 500. It's slightly higher than that. It's around 520 something. But if we plan conservatively for 500, I think that will be a smarter choice in terms of, you know, allocating space to go different places. We also need to figure out exactly where our reservoir is going to go, and contrary to popular belief, the plan hasn't really changed all that much. It's just the implementation that has slightly been modified. We're always going to have some sort of a reservoir at the top to hold water. I might not have communicated that effectively, but I did always want to have that, and I wanted to have a mangrove layer if we could manage it. But since we have all of this that hasn't yet been put in place, this is actually a really, really good opportunity for us to just say, okay, we're going to have another 6 layers deep, like I said in the last episode, of our actual reservoir. There we go. That's the word. And we don't need to demolish this. All we have to do is blast out the very bottom. Obviously, this will all need to be removed, and that is okay. But before we do that, we do have to pump all of it out. That will be something we can get into. But knowing that that's what we're doing, it's going to be a very safe bet for these two gaps right here from the middle on either side, right here, that this will not need to be built out to about here. So we can continue to this point. I will delineate that with a path so we know what we do and do not need to actually cover. But if we plan at the very least for this to just remain here, I can build the side of this with actual terrain blocks, and that will help with some irrigation. It'll help with all sorts of stuff. and that'll give us a 12 deep reservoir. Remember, we talked about 25 times 25 times 12, so on and so forth. Additional math that was committed by people much smarter than myself suggests that each temperate season will give us between 6,900 and 11,040 water blocks in total. Each of those blocks can be pumped to create 5 drinkable units of water. And assuming that we have an entirely fully 100% utilized, which isn't going to be the case because we're not using bots yet, maybe not at all, we would be able to make 55,000-ish drinkable units of water, which, if you remember our math from a super, super long time ago, we only need somewhere around 30,000 to keep 1,000 beavers happy for our total drought length. And watch me just be completely wrong about that number. Please roast me if that is the case. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of a better idea what's happening here in terms of what we're doing with the reservoir. So, in keeping with that, we now also have an option on the level below that, which, if we just come down here, we'll call this level 16. This being level 13, this could actually be where we put our mangrove trees. And all we'd have to do would be to have a single high wall. Could either be levees or dirt. Keep that water in, and then on the level above, we just have to have 1 or 2 spots where we have this hole opened up to the level below with a sluice and then a cover on that, so it would only ever fill it to a certain depth. And that could be mangrove trees, it could be mangrove trees in swimming pools, it could be all sorts of different stuff. That doesn't really matter. The core concept we're trying to do here is to have plenty of water storage. And keep in mind, we currently have almost 35,000 water stored up. Oh, I definitely got that number wrong earlier. That's fine. But we have plenty more we can put in here. We can easily double the water storage just in the center column alone, which will get us to about 70,000, just shy. And that means we're only going to have a couple, I don't know, maybe a dozen tanks up top. But I digress. I'm going to commit to delivering on what I have promised, and that is going to mean big time lapses. I've tried to have the day-night cycle disabled, but it will still change the color of the skybox. It just won't have as many shadows, and the lighting and all that should stay hopefully kind of consistent. But it's a tremendous, and I mean tremendous, amount of time lapsing. We're going to get there. Keep in mind, most people who play this game play 10 hours and then edit it down to 30 minutes or an hour or do just jump cuts and stuff everywhere. They're still spending the same amount of time I am. Okay, maybe a little bit less if they're slightly smarter than me. But it still it takes so long to do this stuff. And I don't cut it out. I desperately, please, I'm begging you, just understand that this is how this works. I'm not trying to drag stuff out. It just takes forever. But we will continue placing terrain. We'll slowly keep getting other things removed and cleaned up. And then we will be able to finally move on. Now, there's going to be a couple time lapses today, obviously. I can't just do it all in one fell swoop because I'd be sitting here for 6 straight hours, and then I would pass out because I wouldn't be eating anything. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But at the very least, we can complete Quadrant 3, and we can get all of that stuff set up correctly for the reservoir expansion and start the process of getting into Quadrant 4. But Quadrant 4 is going to be kind of complicated because we have to have a spot reserved for our Badwater power supply, and I'm going to need to have those excavators going just as long as possible. But you're seeing all this happen, well, in condensed time, while I try to figure out how to do this in real time, my time. But I'll save you maybe a couple hours. We'll see. Alright, folks. Quadrant 3 is done. Well, the terrain at least. Beautifully flat, perfect up here. And you'll notice, if you paid attention during that time lapse, that we have started the process of closing in the core and building around the outside of where it is going to be bordering all of this. Now, before I blow all of this up, I do need to make absolutely sure that I've done this correctly, and I'm not very confident that I have. But what we have here is we have 2 blocks in between that column and here, and we have 2 blocks here, and I have not put the correct amount of explosives here. So let's do that real quick. See, there is a reason why I come out of the time-lapse for stuff like this. So I can think it through while I'm talking to you. That didn't quite rhyme like I thought it might, but that's fine. What I'm doing here is I am putting in as much as will fit on this layer to close this off. As soon as everything else is put in place, then I will seal this, and then we can blast it away. And similar stuff is going to happen down here. Now, the reason I hadn't done that quite yet is because we're still growing eggplant here. And while we are still, you know, not really in turbo mode yet in terms of getting stuff accomplished, because our well-being is still pretty low, which we will address, I figured it was probably best to leave most of the food alone. But right here, I somehow forgot to put the rest of these in. See, this is why you always check. Always leave a note, etc. Man, Arrested Development was like 20 years ago. Sheesh. Anyway, so what I figured would be a smart thing to do is kind of address a little bit of the methodology behind what we're doing with the reservoir. I'm going to put this on at triple speed again, partly because they still have stuff to do, partly because the dirt consumption is still outpacing the production, and as of right now, I don't really have a fantastic idea for increasing that. But by moving this to essentially 25 by 25 by 12, it's not 25 by 25, like the internal volume of this, without the bump outs in the corners, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 by 24. And it will be a height of 12 once all of this is put in place. That's still a pretty good volume, and we do have the bump outs in the corners that I am probably still having to mess with to try and irrigate everything. And there's a couple different ways we can approach this, a couple different things we've already discussed. Either I've floated or you floated in the comments. And I think what is going to make the most sense is going to be for us to bump these corners out maybe one more block just on the top level. Not all the way down, but just on the top level so we can have a bunch of extra pumps and stuff up here. And then move the top of this. When I say move, I mean add another layer so that the reservoir will be 13 high. Why 13 high? Well, these water pumps have a depth of 6, their maximum depth. If we want to stack these things, then the one that goes on top will not be able to have all of that height available to it. I don't think I can stack on top of this because of the height limitation. I am going to try really quick. This, yeah, see, that's not going to fit. But pretend that it does. This is 3. This would be 6 on top like that. If we are going to stack this perfectly on top of another one of these, then the straw on the top one would not be 6 deep. I guess I could just unpause this right now. Not really getting anything accomplished having it paused. It would be, oh, I'm guessing about 4, maybe 5. We'd have to take a look at the hitbox. Let's say safely 4 depth on the straw, which not terrible, not great. Could be better, but if we make this one level higher, what we're going to be able to do is create a layer separately in this entire reservoir, the entire depth, to where they could kind of be stacked reservoirs. Like, bear with me here. This might not make sense when I'm saying it, but it makes sense in my head. We might need to go to 14 or maybe even 15 layers high. We do have the flex room up top here. But what I would like to try to do, I may have to mess with this off camera some after this episode, because you know we're not going to get all that stuff finished today. But I would like to have an entire layer of pumps and then an entire floor, waterproof or whatever, with some sluices to let water in, and then another layer of pumps on top of that. The reason for that being, if we have 2 separate layers, because you'd have all these pumps going basically all the time, you would not have to wait for the entire reservoir to fill all the way up before all of the pumps could be working. So if it just fills the bottom layer to a certain depth, then the sluices close, the depth being, of course, right just a hair under 6 deep, whatever that relative number is. These pumps could go all the time as soon as water comes in, which I do think we're going to end up redoing this. A couple of you guys have requested that. But if this is going all the time, then the pumps on the top layer can start just as soon as this gets full enough for them to be all the way maxed out. Which, honestly, the amount of flow that would be going through here, they'd probably be able to go at the same time anyway. But I think, based on that, we might be able to actually get to the number of pumps necessary without having to have this huge, crazy spread out thing, so that we can always have all of these guys pumping as much as possible without over pumping and without under pumping, if that even makes sense. I'm trying really hard to make this make sense. But it's just going to be a really complicated thing. So I appreciate your patience bearing with me on that. But the other good thing about that is by deepening the reservoir without making it wider, we're reducing overall the amount of evaporation that would otherwise occur if I had just made the entire top layer just a 6-deep reservoir. And in filling all of this, keep in mind we can still get all the way down to like this level. We can still have this at minimum viable depth to keep the mangroves irrigated. And we don't even have to have them irrigated all the time. We just need to keep them alive long enough during droughts or bad tides so that they wouldn't dry out and waste all of that growth potential. So, just a little bit of behind the scenes. Hopefully it makes sense. I am, again, genuinely trying to do my best with this. But we have to let these guys catch up. So let's talk about a couple of other things that I know you're all dying to see. We do have, in fact, just now, not enough medical beds. I know, the medical bed stands are absolutely cheering and screaming and crying and throwing up in happiness that now I will have to build additional medical beds. So this will get taken care of right now. We did have, before it ticked past 22, we did have enough. And now we have 32. 32 is larger than 28. But just because I know how this goes, I'll put in some more, and now we'll have 35. And we still only have 28 injured beavers. How about that, huh? So, we don't have enough beavers to run everything I want to run. You'll also note, if you paid attention, most of these are paused, because I don't want all of the water to run out during the drought, and this seems to be working pretty well. We are maybe a little bit less than halfway through the bad tide, and the reservoir is right about halfway full based on the capacity that I've given it. And we still have 8,100 water, but we really want this to be up substantially higher than that, especially as we start trying to get more beavers in here. I know a lot of you want to see more beavers. It's coming, but we cannot rush it, or this whole thing's going to fail, and I'm not doing that. I have not put in all of this work, and you guys certainly have not watched all of these videos just for it to fail on the precipice of success. So we will have to scale slowly and responsibly, but we still need to scale. So easiest way to do that without making things crazy is to raise the well-being. And if you remember, we did make provisions for this, because when we built all of this mess, we left some space in between our two tiny tubu stations and all of this stuff. And we don't have any well-being around this at all. So all I have to do, first of all, I have to get this shrubbed up plant. I guess it's not going to fit there. All I have to do is just place one of these things for the entire stack. And that's that. So we have that guy. Beaver bust is not going to fit. Beaver statue's not going to fit. But you know what is going to fit? Just a little tiny baby lantern. And it's going to get all of these just like that. Now, is that cheesy? Yeah, it definitely is. But at the same time, it just works. What we can also do, as we get all the way up to the very, very top, is since this will be the highest level that we are working with, we can put in just a couple of platforms here. Come over to our Tortigates and get ourselves the demo version, which I really do love. Pop that guy right there, and that is going to get all of this. And we also have space, should we choose to build one of these iron ones, or the great metal ones are going to require bot parts. The iron one seems to be the best option for right now. But I don't remember exactly what the dimensions on that are, so let's just take a quick look-see. It is, oh, okay. It is 3 by 1. Alright, so, there you go. That's going to give them a big boost. Should get them up to, hopefully, 18. Remember, there are substantial improvements at 17. I want to say... I'm just going to have to click on one of these guys. Yeah. At 17, they get the next plus 20% of the life expectancy to a total of plus 40. And then, you know, if we manage to get to 22, they get the higher movement speed. Working speed at 15 is already plus 60%, but 20 is plus 80%. So, you know, it's all in a day's work for the beavers, getting all of this stuff maxed as best as we can without things being too crazy. We also have scratchers. We have all of these things because of the way this is laid out. We're going to have to do some kind of maybe stupid jamming of things into places they maybe should not go, logically speaking, but we will, rest assured, we will have a space for all of these beavers to do whatever they need to do. Which brings me to another thing that has been discussed in the comments, and that is, what are you going to do with these corners that aren't irrigated? Well, ideally, I'd like the corners to be irrigated, but if we don't want to have these bump outs everywhere, we do have the option of coming into the corners with campfires and taking up most of that space without it being a big deal. So, obviously, it's not really laid out perfectly for us to do this, but if push comes to shove, this could be a very easy thing for us to stick in there. And there's not really great accessibility currently for a lot of this, but keep in mind, you know, when these areas are not part of a reservoir, they can get onto each of these levels right from the housing, and it's not a big deal. That being said, I don't want to disrupt what we have growing here until we completely redo all the farm stuff. So, let's come down here to the very bottom and see if there's anywhere we can reasonably stick a couple of these things here. And I don't really see a lot of tremendous opportunities, but I can put two of them down here and get that hooked into that way, which will give me another place to stick one of these. Oh, come on. And then along the back wall, I can put some of these scratchers. Again, this is not the final placement for all of this. This is me trying to get something out of, not technically nothing, but something out of a less desirable situation so we can actually make progress. Detailers also need somewhere to go. And if I just go ahead and put three of those guys right there, why not? Stamp my face on your butts, and Gary. So there you go. That should help get this number up, which will in turn make this a slightly less miserable experience trying to get everything taken care of. But now I see opportunity here for us to get this completely enclosed. Just get those in place, and then of course I will have to remove this pathway to put this in here, then we can detonate, and then this level will be ready to go. Now, we've already talked about I have to move these eggplants around, and I know we're going to optimize everything later, but if I do not take care of this now, it will become a huge problem. So I'm going to plant a bunch more eggplants, because all of these inside of this space here need to be unplanted. Remember, this is where the wall goes. This is that whatever, comma 37. And this is that same strip, so these do have to go away as well. Now, should I just have them completely destroy it? Yeah, probably, because we have 1,600 eggplants. So I will do that. I was going to let them just, you know, pick it naturally, but it's not always going to work out in the perfect way that you've always envisioned, and that's okay. That's life. Don't need to spend too much time dwelling on that. So I will continue just placing this stuff in. Obviously, you know, there's tons more that we need to do. There's more time lapses coming. Don't worry. But I'm trying to break it up so it's not just, oh, okay, this episode is an hour long and 45 minutes of its time lapse. It's like, no, like people don't want to watch that much stuff. There needs to be actually other things accomplished. So, we also have all of this crap on the ground. That needs to be picked up. So, if that gets prioritized, then they're going to have a much, much better chance of actually getting it. I know there's still other things kind of, you know, lurking in other spots that may or may not be easy for them to grab, but You know, if they don't prioritize it, they're never going to get to it because all of the construction jobs are always prioritized higher than picking up stuff off the ground. So taking a look at some of this, it's looking like a lot of it is planks, but some of it's really useful stuff like gears and metal blocks that we haven't historically had tons of storage for. So, I know we don't have a lot of places to put things that really make sense, but we do have space here, even though this is mostly food. We do have space here to put a couple more useful things like perhaps tanks of canola oil up to the top here, or even just other stuff that might be useful. But canola oil tanks we definitely need to have because we're going to need it. And if we don't have it when we need it, then we're going to be in trouble. But we can also, you know, just simply, like, we don't have to think too hard about it. Remember, this is going to get moved. It's not going to stay this way forever. Just get something popped in here while we're still thinking about it. And then move on from there. Just give them a nice, simple staircase. And by staircase, I mean ladder. And then, boom, you got a huge storage for gears. Which, you know, these gears here probably should still be a thing. But if I'm not misremembering, there's another storage of gears down. Aha! There's a storage of gears down here that needs to be emptied out so that can be completely removed. And all of these eventually need to go away as well. It's just... it's a constant thing. They're going to have to just, you know, I don't have to keep saying it. Well, we can also continue adding stuff on top of here. I just have to be very careful how I delete this so I don't end up deleting storage as well. You already know. You already know. I don't have to tell you. We've been through this. That's in the wrong spot. Oh, this is such a mess. I can't use tab. All right. I'm pausing this because this is going to help me concentrate. Just bear with me here. A little bit more for wood because we are going to want to have wood. And then a little bit more for dirt because we are going to want to have dirt. Now, I've added 360 capacity for dirt, logs, and planks. What do we have down here? We've got a storage of planks. That needs to go away. These storages of dirt technically right now are fine because they are right next to the dirt excavators. And they, unfortunately, are directly in front of one of these pillars. But the entrance is not connected to that, so it's probably fine. But we do still need to be cognizant of what is left down here that needs to be removed. These tiny little log storages and plank storages definitely need to go away. Treated plank storage can definitely go away. These dirt things here, I guess, are probably fine. But treated plank storage is currently very full, and these can be paused because we're not using treated planks. That's going to give us a couple more beavers back while we're waiting on the well-being to, increase our livelihood of the beavers and population and all that junk. So let's add a couple more of these. It kept disconnecting stuff, which was slightly annoying. Pop this in here. And I think in a short amount of time, we're going to have a cause for celebration when we can detonate a bunch of stuff over here. And then we will get back into another time lapse. But I did think it was worth taking a little bit of time and talking through some of this, making sure we're all on the same page. Now this terrain block, once that's put in place, we will get all of this detonated. And then, because of how this reservoir is currently set up, I think we can get away with removing these dirt pillars. I may not, just to try and keep things kind of sane. But we will see. We will see what happens. They're going to take their time doing that. So if we come down to here, we can pop in the rest of this, or at least a good bit of it. They should be able to reach all of this without coming in the middle here, just because we have these paths going all the way around the outside, except for down here. So let's see, I had 5 in between the edge here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means this goes there, is what I was working with. I should have put a 2-boy station here, but I wasn't thinking about it. Well, I don't think that's going to be... okay, that is going to have to be permanent, isn't it? Well, we'll rebuild that at some point when we get to that part being relevant. Now, level below this, where I've been talking about doing mangroves, fortunately, currently is populated by cassava, which we have completely full storage on both fronts, processed and unprocessed. If we're actually going to make this into mangrove stuff, we probably want to start making preparations for that now, which on this level here is 37. This level here is 12, which lines up right here and right here. So I feel very confident unplanting cassava because we already have tons of it. Just need to make sure I do the correct stuff with this and line that up with that right there. That's already set up, good to go. And that's set up there. But let's put in terrain blocks all the way to right here, which is where we were working. Now we have a couple options in the corners here. If we want to truly irrigate all the way to the corners and we don't want to just put campfires in, we can have a bump out on this level and not the top. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take these out just so they don't build that. But if we have the bump out on the lower level, then I guess it's going to be technically less capacity up top. But the evaporation risk is only going to be on this lower level. That is going to be lower anyway. Lower level is going to be lower anyway. Wow, what a genius I am. Massive sarcasm. Let's see. Yeah, 12 to here. They should be the same. And they are. So this would be the normal corner here. If we want to reach that corner, I think, just to, keep this kind of simple, if I bump that out to this corner here, and then I have that go like that, then we could... Oh, stupid idiots. Is it perfectly square in the corner? No, but it follows the pillars, and that should bump out enough to irrigate the corner. We're going to give it a shot before we commit to, the entire thing being what it's going to be. But I have a separate secret trick up my sleeve, and that is to put sluices into the corners here so that this always fills up and it stays filled up. And we can even put fluid dumps here if we feel so inclined. I think I've got clearance for it. I do want to just check that real quick before I make myself look like an idiot. Yeah, okay. So, you know what? I don't even have to have that here. Depending on how we have our paths running around the outside, I may be able to just do one of these guys just like this. Now, I am probably going to need to get the... why can't I remember what this is called? Water pump automation. Whatever mod does that. For whatever reason, I hit record and my brain shuts off. That's the way it goes. But if this is separated with a sluice gate, this can be constantly filled, or a subset of this can be constantly filled, which will irrigate all of this, even if this middle bit dries out, and it won't waste that much water. Food for thought. Just, prototyping some stuff. We don't have to build this yet, and this doesn't even have to be that same shape that we're doing here. Remember, we do have a certain radius that it will irrigate in, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 from the edge, which is too close. But you come from this corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Doesn't even go all the way to that corner. Okay, so yeah, we definitely can move this in just a little bit. Remember that the default thing would be right here. So if we bump this out, I have to pause to think. I know. Just bear with me here. The authentic process of my brain not functioning correctly. This, if we went just a little bit out here, would give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to the very edge. And if we come in that same way from here would put that right there. So, take these out. Just coming straight from the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Gets you right there. So if I had the corner of that be here, then that would be 10 complete diagonal. Just like that, and then I could just have this. For the sake of using these, I could do that, or I could do this, take those out, and that out, which would then give me 3 on the inside here, 3 on the inside here, included with that, would allow me to do this. And I know it's not perfect, but by doing that, then I can come in here with my sluice to fill this up, whatever corner that might be in, and then the rest of this can just be what it is meant to be, which would be right about here. Now, this would create a 3x3 irrigation dump that would be filled manually only when necessary. We could set whatever just to keep this splash. Very simple. This middle bit here probably doesn't need to be levees. Honestly, might as well just make it dirt. Might as well just make it dirt. And I guess for them to build all of this, I should have that taken care of there. And that taken care of there. Now, will we have enough to do all of this absolutely everywhere today? No. Enough time, that is. But I figured I'd give you a chance to weigh in on that. And this is something I've been thinking about doing for a while, and you guys have kind of suggested. So no, we're not rewriting the plan. We're just kind of trying to enhance what we had already discussed without it being complete insanity. So that would go there. We still don't have this in here because it's, too far from a district center. Okay. This is where this does get, you know, a little irritating to build because we're trying to, you know, solve a problem that we created and we didn't realize that we'd created until we created it, and then, you know, it just, it is what it is. But this is ready to go, which is exciting. So let's go ahead, zoom in, and hit B for boom. And that, folks, is a surprising amount of explosives on the ground. I didn't think we were going to be left there, but they're going to pick that up. That is going to be the core of the reservoir going down another 6 blocks. We obviously haven't built this other quadrant yet. Still trying to get a little bit more dirt, and I think we're just about there. But I do appreciate your patience getting the rest of this stuck in here. Okay. So now that that's all picked up, no danger of anything else happening here, I can just pop that in there, and they can do what they're going to do. This, I know this is like a really ugly solution here, but I think, I really hope I got these numbers right. Okay, 10 there. I don't know why I'm so paranoid about this, but this should irrigate every corner of this map, assuming we put it on this level. Obviously, stuff above here can only be irrigated by whatever's above that. But I don't think we're going to really need to be that worried because it's 1 level, 2 level, 3 level. Oh, now the bad tide's over. Cool. So we can get these guys back in these pumps. I have been turning these off maybe a little bit too aggressively. So why don't we have these all running, see what kind of pumping we can accomplish, even though it's going to give us a huge deficit. But our numbers are slowly going up. Blah, blah, blah. So I do think it's better to have it down here because there's going to be less danger of evaporation overall, even if it means we're irrigating less in these corners. Because don't forget, we're still going to have paths going around here, and we can put in stuff like the campfires, and then eventually, obviously motivatoriums aren't going to fit in these spots, but eventually we can have other things utilized in the corners. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm sure some of you probably are really not going to like that, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm flexible. Hey, look at all this junk they picked up. How about that? And all we had to do was have extra space. What a concept, huh? So that's gone. That's gone. These canola seeds definitely need to be gone. Soybeans definitely need to be gone. How did I forget all of this was in here? But it looks like, for the most part, most of our storage here has been dealt with, minus the planks, and then, or not the planks. You know, look, do as I say, not as I do, and sometimes don't do either. It is what it is. I need to get this stuff taken out of here so we can move on with our lives. That needs to be emptied. That needs to be emptied. And I know if I did it off camera, at least a substantial portion of you would want to hunt me for sport. So they are, fortunately, now at the point where they have more or less filled up the dirt storage that we already had in place, and we have over 3,000 dirt. That's the number I was looking for before restarting. So this is the part where I'm going to have to time-lapse the ever-loving you-know-what out of this, and just kind of figure it out as I go, leave some junk on the ground, and generally take a lot longer than most people would probably be comfortable with watching in the first place. So you might see the camera move around a little bit. You might see it move around a lot. You might see me redo stuff. You might not. I don't know, because I haven't gotten there yet. But we are finally starting the process of getting Quadrant 4 ready to go, up to speed. I'm pretty confident that I can do this still in today's episode, as long as I don't run out of dirt, which is why you're going to see me not mess with the very corner for a pretty decent amount of time. Just, you know, taking care of what we can take care of, when we can take care of it, and not really stressing out about the rest. We are still in really good condition with food and water. Could be a little bit better. You see the berry numbers are very low, but I did go in and make it possible for them to plant some more stuff. And when the why can't I not even remember? Temperate cycle. There you go. Get it together, man. When the temperate cycle ends, I will take a bunch of those beavers out of those pumps. I just want to make sure we're getting enough water as we continue growing the population. But enough of my yapping. You've already seen a whole bunch of stuff happen to this point. I don't know what it is, but you do. So now I'm about to find out what you've already seen, because I'm about to go do it. I'll see you on the other side. Alright, so coming out of this time lapse at the end of the bad tide, and I'm going to explain why I changed some of what I said I was going to do after I said I was going to do it. So we talked a little bit about how this was going to be our channel for our Badwater power system, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave this completely open. I had originally planned on kind of filling it in a little bit, but until we know exactly how much of this we're going to be filling with water wheels and switchbacks and all that, I think it's better to just do this. I am going ahead and building the pillars here, but the rest of these platforms, the reason I only did the single one at this level, the rest of them I'm going to do underneath where the reservoir is going to go, and that's going to enable us to, hopefully by the end of this episode, have this ready to go, all set in stone. I went ahead and removed everything from over here, including, yes, the dirt excavators, because I figured it was probably going to go a little bit smoother, even if it had to take me a little bit longer in time lapses, to just have this all completely taken care of, ready to go. I know there's still stuff on the ground. It's going to be okay. I have cleared out some of this space. I aligned the pillars correctly. I did it wrong a little bit. But some of this is just really, really, really hard to do during a time lapse without it just being incredibly stupid. And that is part of the reason why this was only done the way that it was done, because I didn't want it to be too terribly nauseating. But coming back over to this area here, this is where I had decided we're going to put our little semi-permanent irrigation pool, no matter what evaporates or what gets pumped out or whatever. They haven't built this yet because they can't access it. So I missed putting that in. That's on me. I also had to connect a bunch of these large row houses because I had to remove all the other housing, and now we are just about full. We have all of these, to my knowledge, actually connected. I put some extra paths in just because I didn't want to move the camera any more than I absolutely had to. But we're looking pretty good here. We do have a bunch of unemployed beavers, and I did send a bunch of them to work over here. But now we've got flooding, because of course we do. It's the very beginning of our temperate season, and that is not something that has been fixed. But it will be by the time this gets taken care of. So Where does that leave us now? I've got 15 unemployed beavers who absolutely would love to be pumping, and we're going to let them fulfill their dreams here. I know this is still not super organized up here, but getting these guys pumping, continuing to fill our tanks more and more every single time we have one of these temperate cycles is going to be the way to go. So, of course, the beavers are doing what they are going to do, get everything put in place as best as they can, and we will continue the process of getting all of this set up. I know there's still a ton left to do, and this is going to have to get ripped out and replaced with the correct stuff. I was just trying to make sure that we had something going that would have been A-okay. So, other things that we've talked about, I mentioned at the beginning of the episode that I needed to do something about our forester situation, and I was going to rotate these. But honestly, I think we're probably fine. For right now, at least. The berries are spreading. I know our stock is very low, but the berries are spreading now that I unplanted this. I think this was during one of the time lapses. I honestly don't remember. I've been recording for hours at this point, but this should get better slowly over time. We do have this irrigation underneath here that's been here forever. I'm not going to get rid of it yet, but once this up here is in place, I think that will be time for that to go. That'll give us a little bit more room to grow some trees, and we can move on as appropriate. It's become very apparent to me that this will never, ever be harvested, and we don't need to feel bad about it, so bye-bye. Those can all get demolished, and we can start walling this in. But the big priority now is going to need to be filling in the rest of the levels only here underneath where the reservoir is going to be, because I'm not going to have enough dirt to do the entire thing right at this exact moment. But getting the reservoir taken care of is going to be top priority. Taking a look at this, they're working as hard as they can, as fast as they can. I don't currently have a good place to put additional dirt excavators without kind of disrupting what we have going on here. But don't forget, I can make one of these modules basically anywhere. So if we just decide right now that it's not going to be permanent, but we still want to have some other excavation occurring just to get the rest of this done a tiny, tiny bit faster, we can come over here and kind of mirror this. I don't have room to do it right here because we have pillars in the way, but if we just do one of these right here, this land is not irrigated anyhow. All we got to do is just do this exact same thing. It's very easily self-standing. Should not be a big deal at all. Just need to make sure I have one of these in here first. And I can't build from above because there is a floor up here, so this will need to be prioritized. And this is still... okay, it's still day one. I was about to say it's still flooded. That's insane. Well, no, it's not insane. I just need to, manage my stuff a little tiny bit better. Remember how we have this set up is I had this split one level away from this. I really don't think we need to be that anal retentive about this. I think I can manage to just have this set up in a slightly less stupid manner. We can just get around to the front here and let it be what it is going to be. So that can be a priority. Once that's done, I can just put the engine in and it won't be a big deal, but that does have to be finished. So we'll get that on triple speed and make sure that gets popped in place. Continue monitoring the situation here, making incremental upgrades as we have the ability to, and not getting too stressed out about all the other stuff we haven't quite gotten taken care of yet. So, the prognosis on everything in terms of all the terraforming being done, TM, by the end of this episode is still pretty good. It's going to take me a long time, but enough is enough. I don't want to subject you guys to any more episodes of we're going to do terraforming today. It's like, okay, it was fun the first like 5 times, but after a certain point it's just, you know what, alright, it's time to move on. So this should kind of automatically take care of itself after a certain point. We can safely leave that alone for now. And they're filling in the rest of this kind of okay. Obviously, there's still work to be done here. We talked about rotating this. This has been paused for a super long time, and we haven't had any ill effects with any of this, except we are just about out of dynamite. Fortunately, I'm pretty sure for the time being, we won't need to have any more dynamite. Maybe famous last words. Maybe not. I don't know. We will see. But at this point, I am time-lapsing again, trying to put the rest of this land in place underneath where the reservoir is going to be. And then once that's finished, we will come back out of the time-lapse and we will talk about the process of getting this reservoir installed and hydrating underneath, because there's still other stuff we have to do, and that may or may not be part of this. I'm not entirely sure yet. It's going to depend on how long it takes, because I am trying to break these up just a little bit so it's a little bit more palatable for everybody. But beavers are going to do what they're going to do. We'll do our best to keep up with them and keep ourselves on task, and I will talk to you after the break. It has been entirely too long in real life. However, this is just about as done as it can be with where we are in terms of materials. We're down to about 100 logs. We're down to under 100 extract because I took this out. They haven't been pumping. But, you take a look at this. Completely sealed in. We haven't cut any holes yet to, fill this mess that hasn't even been finished. But the next time, in less than half a day, we have clean water coming through here. We haven't cut this out yet, but this will be able to continue pumping. I really, really, really wanted this to be done before we got to our next good tide, but the cranes are in the way, once again. But I can't remove them because we still have to put all this terrain in. Oh, man, I at this point, do not know if I can finish this tonight in time to have it taken care of tomorrow, because I have not eaten anything. So I'm telling you what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go eat something. I'm going to go recharge my brain. And I'm going to come back at the start of cycle 65 and then talk to you about what we're going to do next. Okay, here's cycle 65. I've eaten food, I've reset my brain, and I've thought about what we're going to do next. So, we obviously need to continue pumping water, although we do have 9,400 right now. That's better than, fill in whatever you want to fill in there. But this is going to do its minor flooding thing. Yes, we will fix it. No, we will not do it today, but at some point soon. And then this is going to have all of these things, or as many of them as we can reasonably afford to, turned back on so we can have maximum pumping happen and just get our stuff underway so we don't have to worry about it later. Alright, so they're going to get to that. We're going to have a whole bunch of vacancies, but that's okay because we have all these things down here that are deprioritized, even just a tiny bit, and they'll be able to take care of that. We need to solve, in a big way, the Badwater crisis that we have while they continue getting more dirt. There's a reason I'm doing this first. So I said we're going to rotate this thing and have it come out here and then go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and make us a whole lot of power. That's all great. But the fact of the matter is we have no Badwater, and we are using extract to breed beavers, and we have to keep doing that or bad things are going to happen. And right now, the only access we have to Badwater is through this thing here, unless I were to just turn it on and let it spill where it wants to spill. But I don't really want to clean up that mess. So, I'm going to say, let's detonate this space right above where that Badwater is going to come out. And I'm going to open this just enough to fill up the column, and I'm going to start pumping some Badwater. All right. I know there's at least a few of you who are like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and you're an idiot. And you know what? You're not too far off base. But we just have to get something done. And I don't want to sit here for an hour. I've already spent many too many hours today trying to do this, so we can make sure that we actually have something for tomorrow. Well, actually, it's already tomorrow. It's just, 1 in the morning I'm sitting here playing beavers. But, there are worse things you can do in life than that. So let's get this taken care of here. Blast that out. This will go down just enough. It'll be 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll go down just enough to reach in there, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a helping hand by filling in, and, well, I guess I can't really use too much wood, but if I were a slightly more intelligent man, I would have done this the first time. Can you tell I'm super tired? I've been doing stuff all day. But if I just do one of these numbers right here, then I can have the entire height, and not just a tiny bit of it, taken care of, ready to go while they're pumping. I'm going to just put this in triple speed, let them do what they got to do. But there's still other stuff we need to discuss. And I realize now, 7 hours later, that I did not talk about one of the things I promised someone I was going to talk about in this episode. And that is using tubeways to extend the range of our forester. So I had talked about that in a comment to someone, and I said we were going to talk about it. So I think probably the easiest way for us to do that would be to have a tubeway entrance butted up right against this. I don't know if we really can with this right now because everything else is built on top of it. Once everything is completely set up, we're not going to need more than one forester. Grand scheme of things. We just need whoever is working here to actually have mobility. And we do have tubeway stations here. Just kind of in general spots that may or may not be helping us out here. I don't think it is because it's not close enough to make a difference here. But if we can just do a tiny bit, maybe not today because I'm going to have to like reorient all this nonsense, but do a little bit of thinking about how we might want to integrate these things. Because it's not too late for me to just turn this around this way, facing here, and then have a tubeway kind of meander its way out here. We might lose a couple of trees, but if it improves efficiency, then that probably would be worth it. Now regarding other tubeways, I did leave space too high here, so we could put tubeways above all of these things, and that can help the farms. It can help just, you know, general mobility, and it's what I said I was going to do, but I haven't done it yet because we've been so busy trying to put out fires and fix this to a point where it's not completely stupid, and that has taken a whole lot of time and energy and my personal sanity. But it's going to be worth doing, and we will get there eventually. But before I do any more time-lapsing, I absolutely must have at least some Badwater available here. And I'm just going to have them stay pumping this. And that's just going to have to be what it is. But I have to very carefully, and I mean super carefully, open this in single time speed in a manner that is not going to flood us with filth. So this will need to be something where I have this peeled back just a touch, let this get just high enough to where it reaches up here, and then slam the gates shut, so to speak. So the game is paused. I've got 4 blocks, 3 blocks, 2 blocks, 1 block. Yes, it is polluting because that is how this is unfortunately going to have to work for a little bit of time. But, oh, I did not realize that was not completed. Okay, well that is shut. That's done. It may end up killing a couple. That's so disappointing. See, this is the kind of stuff that happens when you play this in the middle of the night because you feel like you have to get something finished. But no matter what, this will go away. These trees may die, but that is a sacrifice I am unwilling to make, but I'm forced to make. You can see just how quickly this gets pumped. If there were beaver pumping it, but we already pumped out like half a tile worth. And that was almost finished. Man, that's so disappointing. So disappointing. But all I have to do is get enough Badwater to have enough extract to run this thing for like another cycle or two. And then I think we'll be okay. Yeah, we definitely killed some trees. It is what it is. 4 Badwater makes 1 extract. Each of these, oh, they're all the way over here. Each of these uses some crazy amount per day, and that is just, that's just showbiz. That's the reality of it. So I may have to babysit this in a time-lapse as part of the time-lapse, but, you know, it is what it is. Anything worth doing is worth suffering for, and I don't know that you can really objectively call this suffering, but that's what it is. So I am time-lapsing, as you can see, playing with the stupid Badwater thing that I just made because I don't have time to spend a couple hours orchestrating something. I just want this to actually work. And hopefully I can get this finished before I have to go to sleep so I can stream at 1 p.m. tomorrow. I did this to myself. Don't feel bad for me. It was absolutely the wrong way to do this, but the show must go on, and so it shall. So, after the Badwater experiment is at least somewhat helped, I'm going to put in more terrain, and we're going to finally complete all of our terraforming, and that's going to be it for that. And then, at that point, we're going to debrief, and I'm going to go to bed. I keep over-promising and under-delivering on this, and I'm honestly getting kind of sick of it, and I'm sure you are too. But I'm not getting sick of the playthrough. I'm getting sick of not living up to expectations, but never trust how you feel about your life past midnight, folks. We're here playing with beavers, and that's what we're going to do. Alright, so, I know I said time-lapse was going to be the end of it, but we ran out of dirt again. Don't worry. These are working, it's just that the beavers cannot go fast enough. Wait a second. How did I delete that? Okay, well that explains a lot. That absolutely explains a lot. That should not have been deleted. Well. Alright, cool. That's a tremendous, huge mistake. But nothing I can do about that now. We have managed to get most of the fourth from the top layer completed in the corner. The bottom ones are done enough for right now. There's still a little bit that has to get taken care of. But the bigger question at hand is, what are we doing on this layer? And obviously, we haven't completed all of the terrain on this layer yet. We're almost there. And I know I asked you to tell me your thoughts about this, and it's going to be at least a few hours still before anyone even has a chance to watch this. But I think, unless people are really not a fan of this idea, I do think I'm going to do this. I obviously can't put it in right now, or at least on all four corners, but I do think that's going to be smart for us to be able to take advantage of the areas down here that are going to be the most required to be irrigated. Of course, this up here is still going to be important, but we only have, I don't know, 2/3 of this level and up available for growing, which is 1, 2, 3, technically 4, but we're going to be doing stuff up here. So 3 levels with about half the space, 2/3 of the space, 3 levels with the full space, more or less, and then the entire bottom. So what do we do from here? I know I've said this like 18 times at this point, but we have to have all of the terrain in before we can get rid of the cranes. That's just how that works. I don't know, depending on how quickly we can get our dirt back up, I don't know how viable it is for that to be today's episode. I'm going to try. To see what I can do here. But chasing this up and down the entire time is super, incredibly, ultra annoying. But I cannot adjust this without completely rebuilding this whole thing, and I just don't have the time for that tonight. So there may be a point in time where we run out of extract and the births out of the pods slow down or stop. And I want you to know that that's okay, because we're in a really good spot with everything else. It's okay if the population goes down a little bit, because we're trying to do stuff that's going to make the population go up. I know. Newsflash, right? But everything else that we've done today has been pretty good, with the exception of waiting for this and accidentally deleting the engine that was powering these things. But these are both going now, so we should see this dirt catch up pretty quick. I wanted to, on this level, at the very least, get everything set up so that the reservoir up top can irrigate this and fill it to the height that it is supposed to be filled. These right here, these columns obviously have to be here, but when we get into the reservoir, they don't need to be here. They can be removed, but we don't have explosives. We have to rebuild all of our dynamite factories and stuff, and again, that's not something we're going to be getting into today. So, what we need to do is we need to, first of all, I guess, probably keep pumping. I can turn on 17.5 days. I will turn on 4 pumps, and those guys can keep pumping. But we need to have at least 1 or 2 spots, maybe on, opposing corners, where this can empty into this bottom layer. And I think the best way to do it is going to be to find a spot that we can pretty easily hide. Maybe directly in this corner. Might make the most sense. And just to dynamite that out, because, again, it's going to be right on top. Oh, that's actually inside the thing that's supposed to fill up. We can't put that there. It's got to go maybe here. Because this one is 3415. Yeah, see, that would be fine right there. I don't want it to directly fill this, because then none of the rest of this will fill. This is a one-way valve to go into here, which is also going to be augmented by the water dump. So, if that gets blown up, we have to have somewhere, I guess we'll just put it here. One of those. And then, yeah, we have more logs than we have dirt. This will just go here. And then, because that is blown up, we'll have to have something supporting it from beneath so that we can have a impermeable thing on top of it. So I know this is going to sound kind of stupid, but we have to blow it up so that we can put in... is that this one, or is it the one next to it? Oh, perfect. I have to put this in, this double platform, and then on top of that, I'm going to have another double platform on top of that will end up being the impermeable floor. So there is going to be a little bit of ugly here, and this will result in a space that cannot be planted with the mangrove tree, but it's going to be okay. Life goes on. Nothing is that big of a deal, but we also need to make sure that we can have these terrain blocks put in place, and I will get as much of this popped in as I can. Remember, the beavers can still get in with these paths here, and we can use that to our advantage to help build this monstrosity. So I'll just give them a little bit of path so they can get around to the outsides here. Should be adequate. And then we can let them take care of that while we're also working on everything else. Now, I know I just placed a bunch of terrain and we don't have dirt, but they'll build this first. They'll get that taken care of. And then, at the very least, we can have one of these working. Even if I have to just shut this in like so, and then we reopen it later. I don't know. I think that's the best course of action that we have. So, because we have a lot of logs, and because I know this is going to be temporary, I'm just going to put in these corners with logs so that we can delete them and not feel bad, and also not waste any of our dirt. That will make this a viable thing to test when we have our next temperate cycle, which will be when I am turning my computer off and going to bed. Well, after I export and render and update the beard booster list and all. Anyway, you get the idea. We're just going to have to trust the process and go from there. Now, the other wrinkle is that we have to be able to plant mangrove trees. And if we know that this is the design we're going to go with, and we know each corner is going to have this little bump out, we can plan for that, and we can block off space now, which will be here and here. So I can just put this here and pause these so they're not built, because that is how that came in there. And then we'll do the same thing in this corner and this corner. Again, pause it so it's not built. And we will have to put in a forester. Ah, but I can hear you saying, / oh my god, how is he this dumb? Not again. Don't worry. The 4 height restriction on the forester is not going to be a problem here, because we have the power of this entire middle bit not being completely done. So, all I have to do is I just have to have... Did I seriously just build a... Okay, that's the wrong height. I need to go down. There we go. I just need to have somewhere right around here some platform upon which I can place a forester that can plant mangrove trees. So remember what I said before about how we're going to have just absolutely no extract left? Well, that time will be coming very, very soon, and then we're just going to move on. We're going to get over it because we have a lot to get done still. But I will catch you on the other side of the rest of this being time-lapsed, and we can move on with our lives. Okay, so it's the beginning of cycle 66. I can't unpause the game properly. All the crops are dying because I made such good choices. And now the reservoir is empty, but we have this successfully set up. It is set to close above downstream depth of 0.75, which, if we scroll this back, if I can manage to figure out how to use a computer, this will keep it right below the top here. This is set to be completely open at all times, no matter what, and that means it'll just flow completely in here, be totally fine. We have these foresters ready to go just as soon as there is water inside. All we need now is for there to be a mechanism by which water can enter this reservoir. So this is where this gets to be kind of an interesting problem for us to solve. Because of how I managed to do this, I don't have 3 blocks of height on this side of our reservoir. This side has the full height of the 6. I may or may not end up increasing the height of this by 1 or 2. Reminder that 8 hours ago I recorded asking you to, to let me know what you thought about that. I think, maybe. So yeah, just please do try to remember what I asked you, because I honestly don't completely remember myself. But it's something to do about trying to stack these pumps too high, TWO high, not TOO high, up in this thing. But regardless, the water cannot be allowed to reach any higher than the height of this block in this part of the reservoir, or else it will flood everything, and everything will be terrible, and everyone will be absolutely just so sad. It will be incredibly disappointing. So here's what we're going to do. Temporarily, because this is also right next to a tubeway, I'm not really that worried about it. This will end up right there. Actually, no, I lied. This has to be on top of a 2 high. And then this can end up being here. And then, because that is how that's laid out, this can be a 3. And then that could just go like that. So, what's going to happen... I don't even need to narrate what happened there. I just need to set this to the correct height, which would be close above downstream depth of... Well, I guess I could make this any height I want. Let's just say 2.5. So that'll be this entire thing filled all the way up to more or less the halfway point on this block, and then that'll shut, and then this will fill up all the rest of the way, and the overflow will go off the edge of the map. Now the fun part's going to be getting this done with any degree of expedience, because I think this might fill up before this ends up being actually a good thing. But regardless of any of my previous mistakes, this now has an opportunity to show us that it can handle what it needs to handle. You know how stupid I am? My God. I'm going to throw my computer out the window. And I'm going to light it on fire. You know what I did? I spent all that time putting these foresters in here to plant mangroves at the bottom of a 612 deep reservoir. That's not going to work, folks. It's not going to work. It's just, it's super not going to work. I needed it to be here. Okay. It is in this moment that I have to figure out how I'm going to make this work. Well, okay. This... complete abject failure. That we're done. We're done with this. But now I get to turn to some wisdom from the comment section of the previous video that said, "Hey, why don't you just punch a hole in the next level if you want to put in a forester?" So you know what? That's what we're going to have to do. Now I just have to figure out where the... oh, man. It's going to have to be... I'm going to try to have this right here. Well, this is going to fill up anyway. It's not like it's really that big of a deal. I'm just beside myself as to how I managed to make such a stupid mistake. But looking at the clock, I understand why. I will not do this again. Because I know you've probably been a bunch of people say, hey, like, don't be dumb. Just go to sleep. It's not worth it. And rest assured, I will not do that again. But we're still here. And I am nothing if not following through with what I say I'm going to do. That's the only thing I can control at this point. This has to fill up enough to go through here. And then so on and so forth. But while they are working with that, let's blast this away. If I have done everything correctly, I think I may be able to put in... Okay, so that was a lie. I guess all of these... The rest of these have to go away. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I forgot it had to be up on top of that other stuff. Alright, well... The doorway on this is going to be right in the middle. So that is where I will put a ladder right there. And we'll have to have another one right here, which will have to have a path right there, which will have to have a thing right there. This one, once I'm able to put it in, should, being the operator. Also, we only have 11 explosives. We've run out of this. I cannot babysit this anymore. I will absolutely perish and wither into dust. But now we can get that taken care of. Now I can come down here. Take this off a triple speeder. I'm going to absolutely just destroy everything. Alright, now that can go in there. Its little pieces will stick up through here. And that is... that's just going to have to be good enough. So, now this continues to fill. I will speed it up so I am not sitting here until I am dead. And this should shut here in just a moment. We'll see that stream stop. Hopefully. I guess it has a lot of water to deal with. At some point soon, it has to actually get full. Alright, so now we have a drought approaching in 3 days. This is still filling up somehow. Should stop. Come on. Come on. Come on. It can't possibly have that much more. What is this set to? 0.75. Okay. Oh, it is closed. So what am I... Okay, it stopped. Ooh, look at that. It's actually almost all the way to the corner. And because this has a tiny bit of green, it's plantable. So I guess that works. Obviously, you come up here and it's a little bit of a different story because the water is not high enough to really affect this yet. But this is filling this part of the reservoir. This is still kind of half full. We have 8,500 water. I've got a declining population, and I've got a grasp on this mortal world that is tenuous at best. So, yes, I know. Burn me at the stake, drag me behind a bus, blow me up with the whatever. I can't finish this tonight. I literally cannot. I will perish and depart from this earth. I'd like to avoid that presently, so yes, that will be... I'm so sorry. I really am. But that... I don't need to spend time talking about it. You already know. Look, it's like 2 a.m. and I've still got like an hour and a half of this to do. But I feel decent enough, given the circumstances, about where we are with getting this reservoir deepened, with getting mangroves started here, which I will plant in every space they will fit. And then we will need to put another one of these over on the other side here after the rest of these get planted. But it is a start. We are starting to do what I said we would do, and that is the most important thing to me in this moment. So, that will be planted. It will continue growing. It will be okay. and we will move on. I will go ahead and get this other double in right there, so I don't have to worry about that later and think, uh-oh, well now I have to go demolish a bunch of trees. Nope. So, I feel fine about this. Next episode, we will absolutely have to build ourselves a little catchment basin or something down here so we can keep pumping, because this is absolutely ridiculous. Also, we killed trees, but it's fine. We're getting more and more dirt. I will be able to... Next episode, I know, I'm sorry, but I absolutely cannot. I will put the rest of this in, and then that is going to be that. But I really do appreciate... Excuse me, I'm tired. I really do appreciate you guys watching this video. If you made it this far. If you thought it sucked, let me know, please. And I won't do it again. But, oh, I already don't want to do it again. But, Beard Boosters do make it possible to enable my incredible stupidity by subsidizing the madness. And, of course, supporting the channel, so on and so forth, so we don't have to have sponsors that detract from just, you know, trying to have a good time with the game and finish what we started. But, that's enough of that. Have a great rest of your day. Whatever it is you're doing, well, you can come and hang out with us playing Transport Fever 2. Sometime in the afternoon. I might have to push stream start back, but regardless. We'll see you next time, whatever that may be, if you choose to come back after this disaster of a video. But regardless, have a great day. Stay safe, have fun, get some sleep at an appropriate time for sleeping, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.